Hello, ladies and gentlemen. We are jumping right back into it today. I had my breakfast. My kiddo with special needs got me up. Uh, so not running on a ton of sleep, but enough to not let my brain shut off. So I went to bed at like 4 in the morning, 5 in the morning. It was like roughly 4 or 5 hours sleep. And so now the little hamster wheel won't stop running. And I'm going to jump right back in to where I was left off yesterday. And I like to do a little bit of a recap here. Open my notes, because I always do a bit of notes before I log off. Kind of remind myself where I'm at. And I'll show you guys where I'm at, because I did do some offline work, or off-stream work. So leaderboards, or Registry of Chronicles. That's what I'm calling it right now. And so you can see that I'm starting to get some of the functionality in. And I've manually set my spider track to 55, which is a leaderboard in PlayFab. And it automatically identifies when it's green. Now, these values are very, very just basic right now. It might be that you get something every 25 kills, you get a little bump, and then maybe a bigger bump every 100 kills or something like that. And then like loops, something like that. And then you get specific rewards for maybe the bigger points. You know, who knows what we're going to do. Just a starting point. And I've created a lot of these. So on the back end, I've created all these different, basically, leaderboards for each one of these things. It's just an easy way to store all the data for all these different statistics. And so today I need to implement the leaderboard version of it into the UI here somehow. And from there, I have to also set up the granting. So I've set up when a target dies, I have an easy way to set all the different things it's going to be useful for. I do need to set another one for, like, I could have another category for all elementals. I could have a category for all defeats in general. And those would have a separate reward track. And just a lot of ways to just have different ways of progression for your character while you're going out there and doing things. I'm also going to put in gathering as a track as well. And then we'll have a bunch of different tracks for gathering different types of loot around the world. And so, but we're going to start with, we will be starting with just defeats and getting that ready, and then we can move into all the other stuff. And luckily it had at least somewhat of, I do like this idea of highlighting some of the cool art that in the future, right? This is all like stock stuff that's from Marketplace, but trying to find a layout that lets us kind of blow up some of the art there and make it highlighted in some of these areas. So I like that idea. And so we'll see how those kind of come into play eventually. And then I did a little bit of adjustments to the world map, and you can see I have actual icons. Since I've found those icons, I've actually put them in, so it's a little bit more obvious where they are here. And it gives you at least something to kind of point at and kind of investigate with your mouse. I still really like how the map is looking right now. I will, I don't know if I'll have time to get it ready for a mini map in, there's questions like I don't even know if I want a mini map, to some degree, and I might make it so the more, maybe I can shrink it more, and the more you shrink, the bigger your arrow gets. And then if you wanted to, you could just stick it in the corner, something like that. But yeah, it's gonna be interesting. But yeah, really love the map so far. I love that it's kind of lightweight and then kind of small and just like there's just no extra crap all around it for some reason. I just like this. And then how I styled it is pretty nice. But yeah, wherever you move it, it stays obviously. So we do that type of stuff. And now we can move on to I do need to put this in my headphones. Hopefully everything is working properly here. My microphone's on. I've been talking to myself. And we can start building the rest of this stuff. Do a quick shout out in my Discord. All right. So where we're at. First, we're going to get all these scoreboard events kind of implemented. So we come here, and so we have a bunch of things to. Now, I guess one question comes. No, I don't think I should make one that's adaptable because, fortunately, with these playfab things, they're not instant. So I have to have a separate one for each category, which ends up being a bunch. But what we will do is leaderboard updates for defeats only. And I'll have another one for the other stuff. And so this is kind of bosses category. And we also need our list of things in the world. So just pulling this up because I have the list. Event bear. So right now it's just a bunch of grunt work to get all these things going. So one thing I can do, however, is streamline this part. sometimes we want to make sure we wait for it to end. To be the most accurate. I'm trying to think if there's a way to do this properly. Because basically this call here, it updates all the character statistics. And so if I don't want this to trigger the same time for like getting a kill for all defeats and then also getting a kill for bear. I don't want it to run twice. And so I need to throttle it a little bit while at the same time I don't want it to run off delay because that could cause other issues. I could create a timestamp system, I guess. I need to figure this out to be a bit better with code. So the first things first to simplify this is it's going to be something like update leaderboards. And that's going to involve all of this. Which in return, because this returns all leaderboards, which will, over time, it's going to add up to quite a bit of data being brought down. And we're going to promote that to a variable. So we could throttle, we need to throttle somehow, but we need to also understand when this happened. And only continue when it's happened within the last second, I'd say. So maybe we just do time math stuff, and then we'll always we'll basically do a call of checking for the timestamp of this, knowing it's been updated, and so like we can get game time, or okay, any time's kind of fine. I'll just say timestamp last character update. And so we will test this with, I guess we'll test it with bears. And so we will get rid of get this, which is just going to come here. Going to kill this and this. And this now comes down over here. Suppose I can just put this here. And now we're going to say basically this here. That's not the right one. Is the current time in seconds greater than this plus 1? Branch. If it's true, we can just continue. If it's not, we will update leaderboard. And I don't like using a delay here. But it might be a necessity. We'll see. And so let's walk through this. So let's just say a leaderboard bear and whatever came in. And then we would do, so we don't want to call this even update leaderboards. We don't want to spam request this, right? So we need like a small timer by event, because that would defeat the purpose. And then I suppose I could create a separate call list that activates. This makes it a little complex, but it does make sense in my head. The thing is, like, this can be really weird. And then it would look something like this, custom. Like update bear. have update bear, but then we also have like an add to the list. Basically creating a queue system. So we're throttling these, and then we're throttling all these requests that could come in to update the leaderboard. We put everything that's waiting for it in a queue, and then the queue activates once the throttling is done and re-triggers everything. And technically, I can batch all these requests that come in too, which makes it even better. And simplifies my code a lot, actually. It literally makes it down to a single call to the cloud instead of very individual calls. So I need to reframe my thinking of everything that comes in. Every request that comes in, we're going to have its own value. So we're just batching. Yeah, we need to create this as a batch system. And so we compile a list of the updates, and then we push them all through at the same time. And so let's just say for a second, just to make it a little bit simple, we'll say every 10 seconds we'll push out an update. So let's think about this for a sec. Step 1, all leaderboard updates that come in, add up the value to add. I know it sounds terrible, but add up the, so every time we get this, we're going to take, we got to redesign this. So we get a bear come in, value come in. We're going to have a let's try do an integer, because we're always integers. Value to update bear. We're going to just do a simple increment int. From here, we're going to initialize the leaderboard update. you do these updates, it's usually a name that we add to the string and the value. This is supposed to be bear now. And so we're going to do, and I have these kind of listed here for defeats. So by that same merit, we can make this an array. Value used to update leaderboard. And so I'm not sure if the array will work for this. Or no, it should. We just do an array on the string field. And yeah, that should work. Yeah, this is going to be way better code. Oh my god. Duplicate that. Okay, let's rename these leaderboard. To update. Leaderboards to update. Sure. And then we're to update values. This is a string. And then we get this. We're going to add. No, technically we have to get a reference. Yeah, suppose I need to make these or we would do find bear. And then I guess we could just do contains bear branch. Oh yeah, that just ends up being so we just do find, and if it doesn't have it, it's going to be -1. Or I could just do this, so it always finds it. Which this will never change anyways. So then we find bear. And we get this. And we'll set array element. We'll get this. We're getting this. This is the index. And we're doing this +1 to this index. Size to fit. Technically, I don't want size to fit, but because if it doesn't find it, it's going to screw up. But I think it's good. Alrighty, so here we can literally just try this. Put this put this guy. Does this actually point me to where I want? I feel like it doesn't, but let's put this to bear. I didn't even put in the helper tool. So print string. Oh, I didn't even set the bear up either. Of course, Visual Studio's doing a stupid thing. So enemies, bear. And I think it's the death component. Or is it just class default? So we're going to do defeats. Or I guess I don't need to do defeats, I just need to bear here. Technically I need to do defeats as well in the new system. We'll do defeats. Let's just try that. All right, one thing at a time. That's not gonna do anything. That's not gonna harm anything. All right, hit play. And if I hit respawn on this, I didn't even hook it up, of course, but I did get the hello. Where the heck did my other thing go? And okay. So we just do this, respawn, set to 2. Why is it set to 2? That's odd. Maybe it's 1 by default. Okay. Why was it 2? What the heck? It should just start as 1. 0 plus 1 is 1. Pretty sure. Last time I took my math. It's only triggering once. Um, do I have two? Oh, maybe it's, I think I might know what it is. Ah, yeah, I'm printing the wrong value. It's not that, it's, so it's printing this after it's already set, so it's 2. But what it actually is, so the actual value, to get it correctly, is printing it first, and then the order of events. Dory? Yeah, 1. Okay. Okay, so so this is going to happen with each of these events to update the leaderboard. So we've updated that, come through, we killed the bear, we've updated the leaderboard. Now we're going to okay, so this is why I didn't do this in the first place, because I don't want all the access updates. I could just filter based on value. If it's a 0 value, I'll ignore it. That's fine. That's probably easier. And so then we basically say, hey, we want to update the leaderboard. And this is going to start a countdown for 5. We'll start with 5 seconds. That updates the leaderboard. And we're going to batch all the calls together. And by doing this, this is where we have get character statistics. Then we know that everything is updated in this variable. We don't need time check anymore. And we're going to take the update code, just all of this, and the first step we do is take our update values, and we're going to take this. This is going to become JSON leaderboard update. All right, we're going to add everything onto this bad boy. So we're going to snag this. And first, we don't even need that. We're going to do a for each loop on this. I'm going to get the same index. And if this value is greater than 0, we will take the leaderboard, update, and set string field, right? Set string field. With the field name. And in the field names, we do have, yeah, okay. With the value here. So now we're officially batching all of the updates together. We're doing it without any delays. That could have some issues updating stuff. And at the most, we're going to do it every 5 seconds. So every time this comes through, it's going to, like if we do print string here, it's going to delay it by 5 seconds. And then we have like print string execute. I don't think I'm changing anything yet. Not that it matters, but. And so if we put 2 bears out, and it's pretty rare you're going to have, like I can lower this to like 3 seconds later on, but, you know, respawn, start, respawn, start, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, execute. Boom. And this prevents just spamming API calls like crazy for each player. We're making sure that all the requests come in are calculated and counted, and then batched as one single update every 5 seconds. Because it'd be pretty rare that you're doing things so quickly in Ruins of Tearyn that you're not going to just need to batch the updates. And again, I could even lower this to probably 3 seconds and probably fine. And this completely simplifies a ton of my leaderboard update stuff. Holy crap. Yeah, this is fantastic. Um, It's a little weird. What was the issue with the error? That just came through. Oh, it must have been the defeats thing, probably. All right, so now after we've said all that, now we want to update the actual leaderboards. So this is where we come in here. And we've already done this part. We don't need that. We probably don't even need these here. And the JSON leaderboard update. Keep it nice and clean. All right, and I also need to do, yeah, so the update values is being increased here. Oh, we still have to add it. So, leaderboard statistics. So now we do get string field. Oh, break first. Get string field. It's going to be this guy. So I have to convert these both to integers or to int. Clearly we don't have to double that up. All right, so we're adding the value of updates together. So if we killed, 5 bears for AoEing down stuff for whatever reason, they'd all come through here and add up to 5. Each one would come through, they'd get the last thing and update it to 5. And each time it's going to spam through here. It's going to reset this 5 times so it's not spamming anything. It's going to come through here. When that 5-second counter ends, it's going to update the leaderboards, get an official update of what they're currently at, and save it to this variable. We're going to construct the JSON to push to the cloud. I'm going to go through all of our leaderboards. And in this case, I'm doing defeats. And I might create one different separately for each category. And the update comes through. We're checking if the value is greater than 0, because it's a predetermined list. So we reduce a little bit of code elsewhere. If the value is greater than 0, so there is something to update, we're going to set, in this constructed JSON object, we're going to set the string field as that leaderboard and the added value of the current value to the new value. And we're going to set that in the update. And then once we're done doing all the setting the fields, we're going to push all of the updates to the cloud in one giant call. And I do think there is limits on how big some of these calls can be. So I probably will have to just, not that I think they'd ever really get that big, because it's not like you're doing this massive update call. And if you're like farming an area, it's mostly going to be similar mob types. It's not like you're going to get this massive 20 different monsters added to call. It'd be pretty rare to have that type of thing happen. At most, it might be 3 or 4 of these. So I don't think I have to worry about any of that. And so now let's test it out. I can pull up my playfab. And go to, what's it, characters, test character, statistics. And let's kill some bears, see if it updates. I actually might be able to like drastically reduce some of my calls here, and code in general. Respawn and respawn, and that should update a total of 2. It is not updated yet. Did I get an error? Did I click the right character? Interesting. Alright, so bear comes through. Let's just print this value real quick. I know that's not going to be correct, but then we come through here. Append and make sure this is coming through the right value. And then make sure there is only one of these updates, right? JSON leaderboard update. Okay. Do I have the wrong? Character ID, playfab ID. Is it over here? Oh, okay. That's why. So previously this code was on the scoreboard component. And that actor component was attached to the player controller. But now this one's attached to the player character. So it's the owner of the owner. The owner of the actor component is the character, and the owner of the character is the controller. And that's where the correct info is. Done. Bear 2. There it is. All right. That's good code. I'm good. I'm happy with that. We can also hide this a little bit cleaner. And how far this batching will go will be interesting. Because now all I have to do is add current values. How's the game going? Just came to say hi. Good. You know, so the couple things I've been working on are, so I have the map system in here. I did this part, and so we needed a world map. I have this kind of three-phase system for our map slash achievement slash quest system. First stage was, and like a lot of it comes down to player motivations, and like direction too of where they go. So you start in the newbie yard, and this is just like a orthographic, screenshot of the world from above, and then I just applied like a little, some sort of easy filter in Photoshop to make it more stylized and give it an outline, and made it so you can drag it around wherever you want it. You can zoom, you know. And so that's obviously a huge plus for people. And like you start here, and then you do your character you do have like this little arrow showing where you are on the map, and it like moves you around or whatever. Obviously, I'll probably try and make that a little more apparent. It still is blending in too much. And then you have all the different camps. And so like in EverQuest fashion, I'm just trying to roll into that idea of, hey, you sit at this camp for a while, there's loot that's involved. Eventually maybe, color the text a little bit better, but it shows you at least the camps you can go to in order to have some direction of where to go. And some of them have like unique bosses, and you can get different unique items off it based on your class and things. And down here it shows like, oh hey, there's raid boss entrance, door to dungeon here. There's an actual boss of the zone right here. So it gives people a little bit of a heads up of what to expect around that type of thing. Well, this goes into, that was the phase 1 of all these stack systems, is, and eventually I'll have it so like maybe it snaps to like some sort of mini map kind of view just by zooming in or out. But I like this like very simple map layout. Like it's not like this big window that's got like all this junk around it. Like it kind of feels nice, and you can move it wherever you want. So it's kind of nice. I like how it's kind of turned out. And eventually, like maybe more interactable. Maybe you can click the thing instead of hovering over it for more details or something like that. And then you can like, maybe this is like the loot encyclopedia and stuff type thing. And so that's how you like click it, and then you have more like almost like a loot atlas in like some of the WoW mods you can see. And you can actually see the items and stuff. The next one is, so previously I had, this is the leaderboards. This kind of like, I had a scoreboard here previously, and then it turned into leaderboards. But what that also goes into, one thing I've put thought into is how much show or tell do you want to give to your players. I don't think it's a big deal to show this much information with the map, but there's pros and cons to that. Yeah, it's something up in the air right now. And yeah, so like we're such a loot-driven game, right? It's going to be, so that's partly why we're doing it and giving people a path to get stuff, and especially because my thing is like people are going to make guides, yeah, and so like that's the type of thing that there's a chance that you could potentially, I could have an option where you disable tooltips for people that don't want spoilers. I thought about that, but at the same time, we're such a loot-driven game. Like we want you to have direction on where to go. And yes, there's going to be online guides and stuff, but we want you to have at least a little bit of direction in game on what to do and where to go. And our crafting system is going to make low-level loot valuable. So a high-level item, you might need this level 7 to 9 Staff of Flaregon as a crafting ingredient for some high-level item. And so that kind of makes it so you're trying to plan yourself through your leveling journey to get the items you need for high-level loot and high-level crafting recipes. So it's like you might as well do something to help with that. It's you know, however far you're leading into high discovery, so for people to explore. Yeah, it's very inconvenient to have that information. I do want to, like, so that's part of what we're doing and how we're a little bit different from like Monsters and Memories and Path of Exile. We do want to modernize. Like, we don't want you to be completely clueless on your direction and have that super old school feeling. And like that's just a game direction that they've chosen. All power to them. But for our game, we want you to have more direction on where to go and what to do. And so, while still having slow combat. And so that's how when we say we're inspired by EverQuest and World of Warcraft, but at the same time we're trying to modernize it as well and be something unique. And yeah, I think that's fine. Yeah, it's more of a modern way to optimize to make it easier to understand some things. Yeah, and we want that new player experience to just automatically understand of where to go and where to get cool loot. And like we're going to have like some loot, like these low-level items have procs and stuff that just make the game fun and interesting, you know. And right now it's loot-based, but there will be spell drops, and so you have to actually go to these things to get certain spells, right? And so that's partly like we're just a very PvE focused loot game, you know, and we're trying to keep it simple in that way of where to go and stuff. And a lot of these will eventually have multiple named bosses with multiple rare drops, and so that was phase 1 of all of these systems being stacked. So I got that in. And I really like how it turned out. I like the simplicity. A lot of times, sometimes you open a map and it's a little laggy. Obviously, you'll have to have an option to like, at some point, you know, switch what zone I'm looking at. You know, very WoW style of just a different way to look at different zones. But that was phase 1. Next phase, again, so earlier I had leaderboards that I got in. And it made me start to think about our next system, which is, I've called it the Registry of Chronicles. And this is how we're trying to pull in the achievements that you normally see in MMOs, but combine it with quest systems. And so instead of having a go to kill 10 bears quest, you just have it in your achievements. And it's just something that's passively there because we are a very grind-focused game and PvE-focused game going from camp to get loot. You're going to passively just get rewards for it. And obviously right now I'm starting with just experience, but it could be a recipe, it could be a piece of loot, it could be a new ability. Yeah, I'm not really opposed to this at all. Not bad. Cool, thank you. And it's also player motivation too, because part of it is you're supposed to be helping your friends, right? And oh, your friends want to go XP in this undead zone. Maybe it's, you know, our unrest or whatever it is. And can you think of how many cons with having this type of system in a MMO? Yeah, so far it's just about the only cons that like pop out to me right now is how will the new age audience uh, adapt to sitting in one spot and killing stuff, right? That's my biggest concern. It's the camp-based system that EverQuest had. Will people enjoy that? And hopefully, because a lot of people don't like sitting still. A lot of people don't like um, waiting around for stuff to spawn. So that's my biggest concern. But I feel like with Pantheon and Monsters and Memories, there's plenty of people that want that type of gameplay, and my hope is that the social aspect of everything comes through, and people are actually just enjoying sitting around, getting XP, and talking and stuff. But that's the main concern of just the gameplay in general of this stuff. And hopefully, and like the other thing we're doing is with these, we're going to try to make combat engaging. It's not going to just be tap target MMO stuff, and they're actually going to have more interesting abilities that make you think, and they're going to have a lot of kind of pathers that kind of disrupt gameplay and that stuff. And so, again, like it's also like we're sprinkling that action RPG stuff into the game too. And so even though maybe you go to this camp, like maybe you're like this is a fire staff, but maybe you're a warrior killing these things for your mage that you have with you. Well, killing fire elementals, all of these rewards that you get on this track are going to be class specific. And some of them obviously will just be experience and stuff. But if you get a piece of loot, it's going to be specific to your class. And so, sure, there might not be a name drop for you here, but it's the aspect of a little bit of personal loot. And so you might be, oh, if I get 50 fire elemental kills, I get a cool fire shield. Something like that, right? And so it's very specific. So you're always working towards progression, like no matter where you are for your class, doing these different things. And those can help you. That can sometimes that can be a little bit of that horizontal progression. Maybe that fire elemental shield gives you fire resistance that you need for a different boss or something like that. And then some of these things. And so right now this is the defeats section, which is the one I've been working on right now. But there's also for exploration. Maybe getting certain explorers gives you a 2% move speed buff or something like that. Crafting can give you a whole, becoming a master crafting and crafting every piece of gear for a certain trade could give you better recipes. And then there's going to be one for gathering, and gathering X amount of herbs can maybe improve your actual yield of those herbs. And like the list goes on, right? And so just basically it just helps you get bonus, because it's the part of the problem it's trying to remove quest hubs, right? I mean, one con I can think of is for people doing it for metagaming reasons, but these achievements could also give unique item rewards, maybe related to the type of creature you kill. Yeah, exactly. The general audience to see if it'll be engaging enough. Yeah. Yeah, that's the question, right? Like, because you don't think about a lot of modern MMOs that have the entire group sitting in one place, killing the same monsters for hours and hours and hours, right? But hopefully hopefully we make it interesting, and like that's the game loop, right? Is group up with people, go kill stuff at the spot, and get loot. That's the main loop, and so we need to make that very interesting. And everyone likes it's a little bit of that dopamine of getting bonus rewards while you're doing all that, instead of just like sometimes the grind is just the grind and it's like pretty bad. But then every place you sit and grind at, there will be very specific loot to get. There'll be crafting supplies to get. And then on top of all this, so phase 1, phase 2, basically, all this stuff, the Registry of Chronicles. And like I said, the whole point of the registry, we're trying to avoid quest hubs. That's why we haven't populated the whole zone with quests. We want quests to be more rare and like quality quests over junk, quantity quests. And so all these exploration things, all these that like, oh, you get a quest and it takes you to the next zone. Like you don't need a quest for that. Um, a quest to go kill 10 bandits. You don't need a quest for that. You can just go start killing stuff. Pick a direction in the world, start killing stuff, and you'll get bonus XP for doing it. Same thing with crafting and gathering eventually, all those things. If you want to get tons of XP off gathering a bunch of crap, go gather a bunch of crap and get some XP. Reward the player for just doing anything and everything in the game. And on top of all this, again, so like more rewards for so-called doing the grind. We're going to have a fabled expedition system, and it's in some ways similar to like I like the registry, but yeah, hopefully people don't think of it as primary way to progress. But as you said, quality and quests. Yeah. So again, we're a loot-driven game, and like having just different paths to get that gear, right? That's seem interesting, and that's the core goal. And just rewarding the player for doing the core game loop is what we're trying to do. And the fabled expedition system is basically, it's sort of, Path of Exile maps in a way. And wherever you're farming stuff, you're going to get monster parts. And so at an orc camp, you get orc skulls, orc, arms, legs, those things, hearts maybe. Same thing for animals. And you can get enough of those to basically go somewhere. I don't know the details of this yet, but go somewhere and summon a boss of some sort, like a much stronger boss. And that is kind of like that helps you bring into the more difficult bosses, and group content is going to be through that kind of expeditions map system. And so like right now, it could be this guy is Thornroll, right? Well, if you get enough parts, you can go summon a fabled Thornroll. That's going to be a higher level or much stronger, but he's going to drop the fabled Sword of Thornroll, and it's going to be the same item but stronger. And it goes back to some of the EverQuest events that happened, where they'd have these fabled events, and all the previous enemies would spawn much stronger, and they would drop much better loot. And so you could get like a super good fungi tunic, a fabled fungi tunic, and it'd be ridiculously good. And so that's like the trio of systems that we've kind of incorporated. Map system shows where to go, and then you get rewards for doing those things, a bunch of different things here. And then while you're farming a bunch of stuff, you're getting monster parts that let you also spawn really interesting and fun bosses. And so this single map gets you up to max level before going. No, this only gets you. Our intention here is to this only gets you to level 15, right? But we're still at a stage of that probably 15 might be even too high for this level. And XP is already, I feel like, kind of fast. And so I'll probably be slowing down XP at some point. And like I think we're going to launch at max level 50. And at the XP rates you're getting right now, combined with the new Registry of Chronicles, it's going to be way too fast. Like, way too fast. Yeah, like massively too fast. Now we do want the first like 10 levels to be relatively fast, probably level 10. I'm just guessing, but like within 10 hours, you're going to be level 10, and it's going to slow down a lot after that. And so even 10 hours probably seems too long. We wanted to like give the player a little bit of dopamine hits as they're playing at the early stage, and have it make it fun, and then slowly curve that down quite a bit afterwards. And it's like getting level 10, maybe 5 hours, getting level 20, maybe 10 to 20 hours. And then it's like really starts to slow down after level 20. It's a lot of content in just one map, and yeah, 1 to 10 with that much stuff to do is a lot, but that's not a bad thing. Yeah, like it's a game where we do want leveling, like just like WoW, right? Like the speedrunners in WoW are getting to level 10 in like an hour or something like that, right? But the total time to level that character is like 6 to 10 days, you know? So it dramatically slows down as you get up there. So I'm sure speed levelers are hitting level 20, like in a day can get level 20 or 30 just soloing. I don't know what the current speed leveling times are, but it dramatically slows down as you get higher up in levels. And so that's our kind of idea there. And the next dungeon, the first dungeon, obviously, is going to be level 15 to 30, probably, or 50, something like that. The other thing is, eventually, like this map is very catered to. It's our first map, whereas we might replace some of these areas later on as high level stuff, and so high levels will come here and farm something. Um, there's always some situation where maybe the monster expedition system isn't just summoning one boss; it upgrades an entire little spot. This whole camp maybe starts to become, level 25 to 30s or something like that, and so it's a way to upgrade these enemies even further and make them spawn the fabled bosses, and that way it kind of reuses old content, and high levels can come into low level areas, and we want that foot traffic between high level and low level players. And so and we could always like limit certain zones from like all these newbie areas maybe can't be fabled expeditions, or only one at a time, or a certain amount of these things could be fabled expeditions at a time, to make sure high levels aren't griefing low players like, oh, we're gonna go make every single one of these level 25 area, and all the newbies get wrecked. But the core concept of intertwining high level and low level players is kind of what we're doing. So I like the idea, just the idea of upgrading upgrading camps to be all fabled enemy spawns for X duration. And so I could come to this Gobble camp, bump it up to 25 to 30, and then the bow that drops, which is Wind Slasher, becomes the fabled Wind Slasher, and it's better. And again, that can also modify your recipes in the future. If you have a basic recipe that uses the Wind Slasher as an ingredient, well, now that future recipe would get upgraded as well, and there would be a different recipe for the same thing with a fabled version of that thing. And yeah, so that's like the trio of our systems. It's like layering systems after systems after systems, which is that's what MMOs are, right? But yeah, that's what we're getting at. And so, and then on kind of what just kind of happened, because I just worked on leaderboards. I threw leaderboards in just for the sake of it last weekend or whatever, or maybe 2 weeks ago. I can't remember when I did it, but and it turns out the best way to the Registry of Chronicles is through leaderboards. It actually is very easy to code that way, and so I might as well just combine the Registry of Chronicles with leaderboards, and so now I'm taking all of the leaderboard code and merging it into the registry. And I'll have another button here somewhere that shows your rank on everything. And so each one of these is actually a leaderboard. you'll be able to click and see who has the most zombie kills, who has the most skeleton kills, and so trying to find those little bit of ways to have like a little bit of competitive PvE in the game is something we're trickling in as well. And you know, maybe some what is it? South Park. Maybe some South Park lovers will come in. I get the highest amount of boars killed and level to 50 with boars. Alright, that should have updated me to 4 boar bears, maybe. Yep. And so, because I have so many leaderboards, right? I think I could have up to 1,000 in the current state of PlayFab, at least the paid tier I'm at. I need to have a way to throttle all of the updates because like everything you're doing, unfortunately, PlayFab has the old leaderboard system and then they have the new leaderboard system. But for whatever reason, the new leaderboard system doesn't have a server authoritative version of the update code. Which, if I had that, I wouldn't have to get the current value and then send the new value. It would just automatically do that for me. It's just like the aggregation method is based on sum, and so anytime a new value comes in, it would just add them together. But I have to do the adding myself right now, and so every time a leaderboard update comes through, you need to basically get the leaderboards, and that's an API call, which you want to limit as much as you can and batch as much as you can. Luckily, this is why the leaderboards system works so good for me, is it's one call to get every single leaderboard in a data thing, and it's one call to update all leaderboards as well. And so I'm basically batching all the requests together. I throttle everything that comes in, add them all up. So if I kill 5 bears, it all adds them all up, and then starts the countdown to update the leaderboards, and then pushes it through after 5 seconds. And so you can imagine if you killed, for some reason, you AoE'd 3 bears down, 2 moose, and 1 chicken while looting 5 things, they'd all, get throttled. They'd all update as a value, and then after 5 seconds, they would all batch the requests to be updated to the cloud. And that's my way of throttling it all. Yeah, I'm doing that right now. So obviously, the UI layout of everything is like really trash overall for this, but I'm kind of keeping it trash because I'm doing a lot of kind of preemptive work for my UI rehaul. And so this text is a title template text. All these things are texts that are templates that I'm modifying. These buttons are templates. So if I need to update the button, it's just one button template I have to change, and they all will change. This close button is now a template, which I have to update that one for, and add the tooltip here. So all this text, if I ever choose to download a new text, all this will update when I update that one text file. So different things like that I'm kind of preparing for, because at some point I'll probably be ripping a lot of this out. This hotbar here will kind of be a menu bar down here, and I'll be getting into that type of stuff eventually. Got some little inventory noises. I also put in a little chopping sound. And yeah, for leaderboards, again, not leaderboards, but the thing here. So does this pull up? So now it's showing 4 bears. And so if I just hit respawn, after 5 seconds, it'll show up that I have I haven't fixed that update code. That's just a client-side thing. It's over here, I think. I might change that because this is kind of old at this point. I might change how I do all of this. Originally, I was segmenting them between kind of categories, but I might change that. Or I did it this way because at some point, if you get too many of these, it might crap out if the update's too big. Thinking. The less I have to deal with the whole programming side of an MMO, the better for me, but you can't ignore it. It's like there's a lot of other things in making an MMO good. With the stuff that's programmed, the map you made is a good example. The content. Yep. Content is king. Well, thank you for that. The map is promising right now with how everything is placed. Thank you. It's definitely giving a direction on what to do, and that's the key. So I feel like some people come in, they're a little bit lost on what to do, especially without a quest pointing you somewhere. And so I want to make sure people understand where to go, what to do as they enter. Yes, it's hand-holding. You know, some people say don't hand-hold, but I do want to hand-hold you a bit. I want your first 60 minutes in Ruins of Tearyn to be amazing and perfectly understand what to do, where to go. And that goes back into, you know, like when you look at this map, this goes back a little bit back into our strength in numbers buff. The more people of your team, the more higher monsters you can take. So you could log into the game, have a group of 6, and you could probably start killing level 4s and 5s. You could go probably right to the orc camp, the mercenary camp, you know, the spider camp, because you get a strength in numbers buff. That basically means that if you had 6 people in the group, that you could take level 5s as a team, probably. We still have to like test numbers with that and stuff, but overall, that's the general idea. It's just I would assume there are some issues I just not thought of yet. It could be bad, too, with how much there is in such an area. But then again, it's not really. Probably need more time playing the game. The pacing of the map, I guess. We haven't had genuine experience yet since Goldilocks with high level character and helped. Yep, which is fine. But yeah, there's so much to test, right? Like we won't really know until we have 50 to 100 people playing and like feeling the game out and stuff. and understanding where the pros and cons are again. And I really want just to have those like moments of, oh shit, this boss spawned. We gotta figure out how to beat it, you know. And each place, each spawn, each camp should have basically, 3 to 5 bosses that could spawn, you know, and all with unique loot to get. And so you're sitting there and being excited because you're waiting for those moments where a cool boss spawns and someone in your group gets some cool loot, or loot that you can go trade. You know, everything's tradable. So eventually we'll have a trade system in the game. And hopefully we'll have that whole aspect of like, oh, this thing just dropped. Anyone want it, or anyone want to trade for it? You know, oh, we're at this fire camp. Just got staff flare gone. Anyone want to trade? You know, for whatever. Want to trade for, wind slasher. You know, all these things promotes a lot of people, socializing things. Um, all right, so I'm still kind of thinking on. So right now I update the client. I'll try to join as many playtests help. Yeah, so our next one's on. We're going to do just a short. Well, it's kind of short, but it's February 28th is our next test from noon to midnight. We're only doing 12 hours this time, and so that's our next test. I don't know how much testing I'm doing in March. We'll play it by ear a little bit. I did a lot of playtesting this month. I am on a push to do my wish list, obviously. But obviously playtesting takes time away from development, so and so I might just do take a break from playtests and do one at the very end of the month type thing. Look at my wish list. I find with my streaming, I'm actually getting a decent increase in wish list. I'm growing. I'm not a ton right now, but I'm growing. But overall, like I've been very happy with how some of the polish is coming out, um, and I'm feeling good about the state of polish of the game, for one. I knocked out a ton of bugs. I think it was last week. I focused on mostly polish and stuff. So um, I want to get what's the date today? So today's Wednesday. I hope to have this leaderboard stuff cleaned up, or the at least the kills defeat stuff for this registry system, and then also potentially have a fabled like a 1.0 of the fabled expeditions in, even if it is just like an altar that you run over to spawn something interesting. Um, for this weekend. And that'll at least give a glimpse of what's in the future. And then I'll be able to do a video on all the three systems combined, um, and at least like have it on my channel of these are our systems. This is how it works. because I did that for combat, and I like how it turned out. And I still have like I have a million more. You always work in these phases, right? And so my first combat system is like I'm already thinking of like, okay, I'm filling this out, and I can improve it here, I can improve it there. It's like I want to have ways to potentially be combo point builders and combo point spenders. So I know when, so I have the option to continue to build up my combo points and use them and use the spenders when I need to, and not vice versa. And then the just as a process of playing it, bringing in the WoW mentality of lower ranked spells are more mana efficient and higher ranked spells are less mana efficient. And then so your combo 1 ranked spells, you can keep them there to be more mana efficient. But then when you really need that big oh shit spell or that big damage spell, you like boost your combo points to get to that. Fabled Expeditions, they did that in Black Desert. Bosses in the form of items you can summon and fight to kill or something. But this would be groups fighting a boss. It's a little bit up in the air. So it could be, and we might just do both of these, right? 1 second. So we might do 2 things. So it's an extension of, Path of Exile maps or action RPG, map systems, whatever we call them, riffs, in the sense, not in the sense you're going to a portal to a dungeon or something, but there could be an altar like at the tavern, and you have to collect a bunch of monster parts, bring it to the altar, and you summon a boss there. It could be that. It also could be that high levels can basically come to this camp, do this weird ritual, and then all the mobs in this camp despawn and respawn as higher levels. And I love that kind of iteration too, because you're using old content to mix and match high levels. And then the loot from here obviously gets upgraded. And so a level 30 could come here, upgrade the camp to level 30. The bosses would give, level 30 loot and like probably tier 3 or tier 4 loot at that point. And then you have a high level mixing in with low level players with stuff. It's possible, but that's part, that's part of the game loop, right? Killing monsters and getting cool loot. It's all about pacing on how much it takes to get that stuff, right? And whether or not, like you might need to so-called, like maybe you only get the required mercenary stuff, like the required ingredients to upgrade this camp to level 30 is not what you would get from farming this camp type thing. And so as a way to limit it, you'd have to go to a different zone, farm the mercenaries there or something like that, and then upgrade this one. And so it's all about targeted loot farming, right? That's kind of what you're getting at, is targeted loot farming and upgrading stats on gear and things. And there could be some bosses that are only altar summoned based. There could be some bosses that are, you have to upgrade a camp to, do that for them. We also have to think about, obviously, griefing. And so if there's a bunch of lobies here and some high level just comes and starts spawning high level stuff, we don't want that to happen. So like, what are the limitations and requirements? Can't maybe only your group members can be allowed in the area in order to upgrade it. So there could be some obviously flaws of trying to make sure stuff's not griefed and things. But it's one of those things that, you're only gonna figure out the fine details after throwing it in the game and feeling it out. Because, it's the same thing with my combo system. Like, it's just an idea I had to have more abilities with less buttons and trying to have, like, you have your core thesis goals. I want to slow down combat. I don't want to mash buttons. I don't want carpal tunnel while I'm playing the game. So how do I try something that makes the people think about abilities they want to press and not spam abilities? You have your core design theses, and then you like just implement something that's in the direction of that thesis, and you test. Yeah. Um, 'Cause who knows if my, so I mean, every MMO should have a global cooldown. That's just good code, 'cause you don't want people to spam stuff. But it's not about the global cooldown. It's about, I want you to sit there and auto attack, and I want that to be good playing. I want you to understand that, like, you don't have to just spam E, spam left click, spam Q, E, R, 1, 2, Q, E, R, 1, 2. I don't want that type of gameplay. Um, in my combat video, I talked about, in the RTS genre of games, the StarCrafts, the Warcrafts, there's that concept of actions per minute, the APM. And I'd argue that MMOs, while you're in combat, are getting to the same levels as RTS games because you're literally just nonstop pushing spells. And, like, that's how crazy MMOs have gotten. Like, the concept that that's even happened is insane. Um, and so I don't want, yeah, I don't want that. And, like, you see how WoW's evolving, where your whole rotation now is on one button to make it easier for people because it's gotten that bad. Your whole rotation's on E now or something like that. You push one button for your whole rotation because it's getting too ridiculous. It's getting so ridiculous that people, I think, had mods and AI pushing their buttons for them because, like, a human couldn't, a normal human, unless you're like some hardcore elitist, can't keep up with the proper rotations. But at a high end level, then it's okay. But that's, I don't know, things are supposed to ramp up naturally as people gain power. Well, the whole thing here is I want it to be like, chess. And so I want you to be thinking, it's a strategy game philosophy of, you don't need a high action per minute game to be a great game. You can, as long as you have a high thoughts per minute game, you're engaging the player to be a fun game. And in chess, you're not moving your pieces constantly, but you're thinking about your next move after that, your next move after that, your next move after that. And that's the whole concept, of what I'm trying to do with um, the combo system in Terran, of what um, what you should be thinking about is, I have all these abilities to use. Which one right now is the right one to use? And it might not be, like in the case of the mage, your rank 3 fireball is an AoE. You might not want to use that when you have four mez targets right next to you. Because all those things are going to take an AoE, they're going to take a burn, and they're all going to come after you and kill you. And so it's like, oh, I need to not use my fireball on the third rotation and use something else on the third rotation that's not AoE. And so it's a lot of thinking about your abilities that you have available to you, um, and using the best ability for the right situation and your positioning, right? You might have, um, abilities that do more based on position or based on, and then you combine that with my crit system where you're basically storing crits. And like right now you store up to one crit. I'll probably have it that you can store up to 3 crits, so you can, like, right back to back, let's just unload a bunch of damage when the monster's weak. And right now we don't have like a weakened system, but eventually it'll be like if they get stunned enough or whatever, they'll crouch down and kneel for they're exhausted for 5 seconds, which makes them take even more damage, and then you want to use your big damage spells during that moment, which gives you the biggest bonus damage possible. So you're using the right spells at the right time to maximize your damage. So it's more about um, timing and decision making over spamming a rotation. Um, and so we want you to integrate, and that's the whole point of why there's an auto attack that gives you crit, and your spells interrupt your auto attack. So in order to get your crit, you need to auto attack, which means you need to not press buttons. And so like these are all like the core philosophies trying to come together of what I'm trying to drive with my combat system. And again, when you're designing stuff for games, you have a thesis of what you want out of the game and what the direction you want is. Just throw some stuff at the board and try and see if it goes in that direction, and test and feel it out. And like the thing I learned from last weekend was I really want the ability for me to choose when I increase my combo points a little bit better, more control, which leans it into like a builder spender system. And so I might limit to you to your like Shift Q ER are combo point builders. Your 1, 2, 3, 4 are combo point spenders, something like that. And only combo point spenders will actually utilize your crit. And so I found like, oh, I have a crit, but I want to use it on. I have a crit at my one combo, but I want to use it on my third combo, and I can't. And so like, there's these kind of like decision-making things that um, I'm trying to figure out, and having more control over how I use my combo points, and bringing in that like the whole play experience really made me think of, oh, I really want to take in this idea of rank 1 versus rank 3 and mana efficiency levels, because that's what so many of these old school games are about, is mana efficiency and making sure you don't overspend your mana and waste your mana, and balance regen and things. These are kind of the learnings I'm doing as I feel out stuff. And like with the rogue, it was really inconsistent when it's like, oh, if I'm stealth and I go and ambush something or like backstab it while stealthed, I'm getting really inconsistent values because my rank 1 backstab is so much weaker than my rank 3 backstab. It just felt really stupid that I get a stealth and I get a backstab and it's super weak. So as a result of that, I made stealth automatically give you your rank 3 combo point. And that way you're always stealthing and backstabbing with your maximum backstab, and so it feels more consistent on damage. And you get that kind of feeling of, I just messed this thing up because of it. And so it's things like that. And certain abilities I'm taking off the auto attack reset, like the Warrior in Rage. I didn't like that it reset your auto attack, and so I took the Warrior in Rage off, resetting auto attacks, and finding these little niche gameplay feel things and tweaking them. And I had to add that kind of ability into my combat system. It's now like if I go to I'm adding things like, so initiates auto attack is here, resets auto action is here. Little details like that. My thesis is overwhelming for a single person, but I figured out how to go about it. I ain't doing anything special in my combat system, as I can barely manage getting things made. with just something on the levels of Classic WoW. I think that's fine. Your combo system is for all classes, right? Pretty much. There's going to be classes that have a little bit of uniqueness to them. Like right now, the Enchanter doesn't have an auto attack; they have a pet cast, right? And I've already put in my notes. I have to figure out something else for the Cleric. I think I have it down here. Yeah. I need an alternative to Cleric because the Cleric is a melee class, but they're a caster, right? So technically, and you don't want your healer walking up to monsters in like AoE range to get auto attacks. So they might need some sort of alternative to auto attacking to get crit. And I like that because it makes that class unique. Just like the Enchanter right now, they feel very unique because they have a pet as their auto attack and they can't auto attack. Versus the Mage that can throw fireballs as like a Mage Wand type thing. And so there's going to be a lot of uniqueness throughout classes because of it. I'm sure like I come from playing a Shaman in EverQuest. They're probably going to have a little bit of a wolf pet as their auto attack. Any class that is a pet class, they probably won't have an auto attack. It's just going to be their pet that kind of feeds them their crits and stuff. And right now, the Enchanter, I don't have it feeding crit because I haven't set that kind of system up yet. But and the fact that you could crit on a mesmerize spell or a sleep spell, is kind of like a unique system within that class as well. Having a debuffed crit in a way is unique, and so the system plays into a lot of these other things that are going to make these classes even more unique, and through abilities and stuff, through equipment and gear, you might be able to store up to 5 crits, and then you can go super ham at those key moments, and just like crit, 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 and figure out those timing of things. And it's kind of like an ammo system in like League of Legends or other games. There's lots of games that do it, but you're basically just making sure the crits you use are very strategic and of a choice to use them, not just random. I need to go to the bathroom. I'll be right back. Alright. Okay, back to my registry of chronicles. So I guess the thing I need to do is, so again, I'm trying to optimize my flow of updates to make it much more simple and to batch things together. I've figured out, I would say 90% of it. But now, when this is done, I have to update the client. That's the last step. And now the thing I have to be careful of is when you use an array to just do an RPC to a client, arrays can get too big to send at some level. And I suppose I think I can just do that, because if I then do if I take these and I'm basically okay, that's not what I want to do. I guess it kind of is. I'm almost repeating the same thing for the client. So I'm taking the leaderboard updates. Okay, but I'm not touching the array. I'm adding it to the field. So the array never gets updated. And now we need to compile a small list of things to update to the client. So client. So we're not doing this. Oh, actually we are. We are doing that. And we're going to add, this is going to be nothing. values is this. Just to make sure these are synced, set array element instead. And then when this is done, we will run this on client. Now this thing throws an error with arrays, but it still works, so I don't know what to say. String and enter leaderboard and leaderboard value. Before we do this, make sure these get cleared. This could technically become a function. Let's make this a function. Function. That way, we don't have to clear the array. We will make these local variables. Okay. And I gotta let my dog out. I'll be right. All right. So we're getting the current leaderboard updates. Anything that's greater than 1 or greater than 0. I'm gonna add to the client update, and then add the value to the client update. And then now we can do leaderboard client. Which is here. These are gonna be arrays. And we throw in the locals. Local variables are very nice for keeping your code a little bit cleaner. Less variables in your main graph, and then you don't have to clear variables. Every time that function runs, these are cleared because it's a new instance of that function. So ROT client update leader, whatever, and so now the code for here is for each, we're going to, what did I do over here? We're setting the values. And I think I'm just going to make one giant array. I think I can do that now, because I'm sorting a lot of these things very specifically. And this like really simplifies my code a lot. So this at the very start, can play, whatever. We're loading all the character statistics here. This is on the server. So we can basically, let's just cut everything here out for a moment. Yeah, I'm just going to trash all this. I'm just going to go for it. So crafting names, crafting values, explorer values, explorer names. And yeah, so this is just becomes leaderboards. And for some reason that's causing a crash, apparently. All right, so we delete that, compile, save. This now becomes leaderboard, compile, this is leaderboard values. I don't think we need defeat names anymore. We're getting all the leaderboards. And then this is a duplicate variable. That's over here. We can always put that. Okay, so that does probably need to remain different. So our initial load will be different, a little bit different than. So I suppose this one could have some problems because the initial load. But I think we're just going to roll with it for now. And when it craps out, we'll redesign it then. We'll just monitor it. Leaderboard values. The initial is a little bit different than the future updates. Future updates are much smaller. Initial is a big dump of everything you already have. So there might be some variations in how we do this, but luckily they don't impact each other. So we have the leaderboards. It's going to contain all leaderboards. Leaderboard values, which will contain all leaderboard values. We don't need to separate things based on category, which simplifies a lot. And then the client already has this predetermined list array. The client will have it. So all they have to do is get sent the current values, which comes through here, and it's set here. And let's do a print string on the length. And so now when I pull up the leaderboards, I hit move bar bear, it's 6 bears. So that's updating. These are all 0, 0, 0, 55, whatever. The overall data should be pretty small. You can pack a lot in an API call, that's for sure, or RPC call. And it starts at 0, so we know that's updating properly. There's 23 and things here, 23 is there. I do a small delay at the start just to randomize if a bunch of people connect at the same time. It just makes it a little bit less, everyone activates at the same time to download their stuff. It's just a little thing you can do to have a little bit of making sure the server doesn't get slammed all at once. The server does better when it's doing things like one things at a time and stuff. And because it has to do with a lot of data being transferred, I try and space it out a little bit. All right, so that's the begin play. This is basically just the player connects and retrieves all registry data. And key here is I'm avoiding, because these are event-based updates, I avoid replicated variables. Because we don't want servers, because MMOs, you can sit around in town and do absolutely nothing, right? You want to limit your replicated variables as best you can. Because there's always a little tiny bit of a cost. You just don't want the server checking those variables constantly in order when like tons of people are just sitting in town doing nothing. So it's like it's small things that server performance is a bunch of small things that add up over time, and replicated variables are one of them. It also just makes sure that you're trying to always simulate on client. And so less replicated variables you have, the more and more you need to build your systems around replicated or simulation on the client, which is a huge principle in client-server authority relationships. All right, I have the initial download of stuff. I might make a little warning here, I'm not sure. I don't know. Let's move on. I need to try and just get this thing in the game already. Okay, leaderboard. So we have the event graph, and we have leaderboard updates. And so now it's very simplified from before. So this is update as bear. I'm just going to say bear. And I can pretty much just copy pasta all this. Update leaderboard, then update client. I should say batch update leaderboard. Yeah, phone calls. Adulting, right? Who would have thought? All right, so now we have to do the client code here of the updates. So we have all the updates to do. We come in here, we call this. Now we have to do for each of these. We need to find the leaderboard. Which we know will exist. Get the value. Or no. For each of these, we get this, the index. the local value, right? Default values. So Chronicle default names. These can all be deleted. And we're going to set these values here. And then we're going to find because these arrays are different, so we need to find this name here and set array element here. The index and set it to this, and we can do size to fit, whatever. Just make sure there's no weird issues. A little bit of cleanup. And we will do some just debugging on this to make sure it's doing what it's supposed to. Okay. Yeah, I don't need any of that. Or, whoops. Yeah, find in the leaderboard, which it will always find because of how I have it set up. We're going to get the leaderboard value. And that is super simplified now as well. And hopefully that works. Okay. Okay, that was a little weird. 14 bear. 110 spider, that's wrong. Okay, leaderboard update. So why was this pulling up the other things? So just doubled the spider kill count. So something's wrong. So update leaderboards. Let me cancel this for a second. Why did it just say numbers? That's weird. Oh, okay. Here. I don't think I'm adding something right. Oh, okay. This is what I did wrong. Event graph. There we go. Just gonna set all these down to 1, 1, 1, 1. Now it should be bear 3, right? Bear 3. There we go. Try again. I clearly have an XP bug going on still. Or maybe bear 7. Alright, so how do I know when to clear this properly? I need to non-destructively so once this is complete, we update the client. But basically we have to go back, and we can't clear the values, because if we clear them, new requests coming in might get overwritten. So once we cast this, we once again have to do a leaderboard array here. We're going to do a lot of the same things. We're getting the right index. We're going to subtract this value. I guess we can use the client one since we have it. Maybe we can just clear. I don't know. Because we're cycling through the leaderboards. So at this stage right here, we've completed the update for everything in this. So immediately as we're done, we can clear that. Because as these things, that's going to be like could potentially throttle these even as well to like make sure. That's a lot of variables. I suppose each of these could just be a function and then use a. The main thing I'm concerned of, anytime I clear the array for updates, if this comes in at the same time, is it getting applied? And what can I do to prevent that from ever happening? Because one of those things that this technically could be halfway through the for each loop, and then this comes in and updates one of the first values, and then it gets cleared. I know that's kind of craziness, but it's possible. And so the only way to get around that is a secondary throttle with the ads. Yeah, I think I'm just going to add that throttle. It's going to pain in the ass, adds more code, but I think it makes it more solid code. Alright, so let's just think this through here. We kill 4 bears, comes in. Each time we kill a bear, it's adding to this. Finds the leaderboard, it finds the array to update, adds it. Then we go to update leaderboards, but the update leaderboards itself is being throttled. So if 10 requests come in to update the leaderboard, that's going to be throttled. With a 5-second cooldown, every time this gets hit, it resets the 5-second cooldown. And eventually, the 5 seconds will go off, and it'll do a batch update of all leaderboards. Now, when the batch update is done, aka, so here, we're taking everything and we're adding it to the JSON update by setting in the string field. So all that data of every thing that needs to be updated is packed into this variable. We come through, we clear the current update list, and we send the JSON update to PlayFab. When we clear this, it has the potential to fuck up or miss updates over here. Potential. Probably a rare situation that's what actually happen, but I want to make sure it doesn't happen. And so to do so, if I add a throttle here, which is just a delay, does it actually make a difference? No, it won't, because it's already throttled. So this coming through here, if for some reason this code's being executed and another request comes in, it's already being throttled by this. So we're good. We're solid. Perfect. So all this code's being executed and another request comes in, this gets reset to 5, and oh wait. This comes in, but this gets updated, which means this gets updated. So I almost just need another int array to transfer all these to the new one. That's what I need. Values to update. Let's rearrange a little bit. So we have the leaderboards, which is going to just be a static array. It's not dynamically made at all. I manually make it. Initial values comes through the event graph, and are the initial values when loaded. These are the ones that are on the client. Then we go to the update. Leaderboards to values to update. We're going to do leaderboard values to push. And so the second this comes available, or triggers, we're going to get and set push. And we will clear the update. And then down here, we're just going to switch this with push. And we no longer need the clear here. So this makes it much more harder for any type of issue to happen. So once this code starts, we're transferring all the update values to the push. And then this will push everything over here. And then, of course, now push needs to be cleared here. Actually, since we're setting, we don't even need to push, I don't think. But I'll do it just as a precaution. I'll do it. Technically, with the set, it should just reset all variables, but whatever. All right, much better. So if we get to this point here, we're using this, which is using this here. And this is not going to be changed at all if new requests come in. And then this is throttled by this. And rinse and repeat. All right, I'm much happier with that. We'll see if any bugs come up with that. eventually I'll have to stress test the system and kill a bunch of things and see what happens. But overall, I can refresh my playfab. I have 7 bears currently. And now I have 9. So that's batched fine. Let's try it again. That's now 11. So far, so good. And then the last thing we need to check is if it's updating the client properly. And so we go through here, blah, 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 blah. And then leaderboards push is coming over here, I think. Okay, so maybe I have to do push cleared, not here, but here. Okay, something's wrong with the initial download. Oh, maybe just try updated. Oh, something's messed up. All right, probably interface maybe. Okay, this one is not the right one. It's initial. That could be it. There we go. 11 there. Checks out. These are all fine. Spider should be 1. Yep. Everything else is 0 right now. Okay. And then we kill some bears. So the update did not come through. Let's figure that out. Okay, so values to push, leaderboards. Oh, hold up. Okay, so now we want leaderboard initial. There we go. Updated. Okay. Our code is refined. It's good. But we have some errors. Okay. So what we need to do is valid checks. Um, which one is this doing it on? Let's repeat. There's probably other ones like that too, but all right. That looks like the only one. Alrighty. Mission accomplished. All right, finally. I think we're good to start. So the reason why I did all this is there was a lot of code to repeat for every single, monster type. And I was like, how can I reduce this? Especially originally every single update for each monster type was calling, get every single statistic that this character has, and then updating, every statistic this character has, or, you know. And so I needed a way to batch everything together. I can organize that better later. And so now it's a little bit simpler to figure all this out. So I'm just going to go ahead and delete most of this. And now it's just a bunch of copying and pasting it like this. With Vero Vin. Bosses. Oh, I can actually make this a function now. Fuck yeah. That was the function. We come in here. We just set this to leaderboard. tidy. All right. And now, oh, why is it doing that? I thought I'd be able to type that in. Does that do it? There we go. I think. Let's try it. Bear. We are at 19 bears. 19 bears on the wall. Take one out. Mess around. All of a sudden we got 21 bears on the wall. Okay. Now it's super clean. Super clean. Before we had like these massive, almost every line of code was like this. And now it's that. Just a tad bit better. Bosses. All right, now we go down the giant list of things here. So we have bear, update boar, I'll just pull all these out first. Boar, deer, event moose, event spider. I'll try and have somewhat of a spacing here. Spider, then wolf. Bandit. Dragon. And fire. Alrighty. Just a bunch of grunt work right now. Entering it all in. And bear. Okay. Holy moly. That's all those events. Luckily, there is now only one batch update event. So that's massive. So theoretically, we should be able to explode everything everywhere. So what I can do is go to my class. Let's go to the, let's set myself as a mage. We can do a quick little go to our mage stat change on the fireball, or the, not the fireball, AoE. And we're going to put the damage value to like 1,000,000. Then we also have to set up all of our enemies, because I do not have them all set up yet, on what category they're updating everything. So let's do that. Alright, this is the target dummy. Don't care about that one. Zombie. Death. Leaderboards update. Zombie. This is the wolf. Stag. I do want to do a save all here. Just in case. Save all. Alright. Skeletons, done. This is Cagente Pet. This is technically a skeleton as well. There might be a situation where, like, I don't let these pets account towards these things because it could be abused. But I'm not going to care about that right now. I will also add categories for like groups as well. And so all the animals should also have a track for killing animals. So everything's going to have its own individual track, but then there's going to be some categories of stuff as well. I think this is the bandits. And similarly, Ghost will have like a undead category. Elementals will have an elemental category, which will add to the arrays here. But for now, I'm just getting the basics in. This one should be done. Character. Skeletons. the data entry. Oh, sorry, DD. I know you messaged me like 30 minutes ago, but sorry about that. I am in focus mode here. I finally figured out the code I was just wanting to do, and now I'm just implementing it all. This is a Earth. This is like the reason why I need the throttling, you know, because this one king can put a request through for bosses, Skagente himself, and then skeletons. So you need some decent throttling of everything. You wouldn't want each one of those requests to come through, get all the current leaderboard statistics, and then push each one of them individually, push an update. And that's why I kind of had to go through all this shenanigans. All right. Now we need to do one of each and test this out here. For I'm gonna put on my notes. Reset mage AoE spell back to original damage. Oops, I increased the rank. One boar, 22 bear. Do that. That. 2 and 23. And it's perfectly fine. Players will understand that, you know, it's not instant update. It's batched. They're not going to care. It takes like 5 seconds for it to update. All right, got some errors. Okay, I just need another is valid. we're at 23 and 2. And 3, and no errors. All right. Whoa, my hand. All right, I do need to make this event graph. I can't stand not seeing that on the title. So this is just going to be event graph. I guess I can't rename that one, but event graph, leaderboard updates, super clean. We have one big thing here, and I can put all of these. We'll do defeats here. Just double check that this is only being used where I want it to. So we update that, we cleared that. This is add leaderboard. This is the function in the function. Perfect. And let's see here. Are any of these not being used? That's being used. It's not being used. Yeah, my class code would have had to have a JSON update thing for everything. And the timestamp, I'm pretty positive it's not being used. Initial update push. Yeah. Beautiful. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. Yeah, all these are fine. I'll create different categories for this later, but I guess I could do that now. Oh, whatever. Just do get. And then these are updates. just a little bit of my process, just like get it to work, refine the code, and then clean the code once you're satisfied with how it's all working. If I wasn't satisfied with how it's working, I wouldn't care about cleaning up. I'd be like, okay, it's working. I'm just going to move on for now. And, this is, why is this not in? Weird. Let's do client get. I don't know. Very weird. Apparently I can't move that. Weird. Alright. The annoying part is now I need to test everything. I need to test pretty much every enemy in the game to make sure they're updating. So I think we have 23 enemies. You know what, I probably need to make this like an actual part of the level. Oops. I'm going to duplicate this over here. And we're just going to actually make this a thing. Negative 25,000. 0. I guess 75 is fine. And we're going to move in blocks of 500,000. To get our override. In this version of the setup, I don't want to have them aggro each other. What? What did I just drag? Alright, so these clearly are too close together. Yeah. And I also need to make that mesh bigger. Got the is it editor? It should not be auto-generating. Probably need a break for food soon. I already know boars and bears work. It's more 24. So that's the next phase is once I confirm everything is increasing the value, and when it's increasing the value, it is doing it in the cloud. That's what we're reading from. So in the cloud, just give you a quick look. These are the current stats this character has. So it's 4 there, 24 there. So it is updating everything in the cloud. And the next phase is to, once I confirm everything is properly increasing its leaderboard, that's when I get into the bonus stuff. And so I want people to understand that I want people to actually come and click this, to understand where it's coming from and like where the system is. I don't want to just automatically, boom, give you stuff. And it makes it a bit more intentional. I'll kind of monitor this. I will probably have like a, get all button. I don't want it to feel too Genshin-like, where you have a ton of things to click through and accept. And overall, I don't think it'll be as like spammy as Genshin, so I don't think it'll be as much of a problem or a nuisance to people. And plus, like, get all button, and then it'll actually run through everything and give you all your rewards. Okay. So I have to simply go through and set up the test of everything here. So bear, boar, deer, moose. Bear, boar, deer, moose, spider, then stag, wolf, going to set all of their stats down to 0. I'm going to walk through this one by one after all this. Kill everything once and make sure it's all good. I don't remember which ones of these are really using. Okay, here we go. Refresh, everything is 0. And just one by one, I'm going to just start clicking respawn on. Okay, I went the opposite way that I thought I did, but. And one of these is set to 4, 4. This is supposed to be bear. All right. Respawn. Respawn. Dragon's probably the only thing that should have 2. Don't change 1. Okay. If I update my playfab, bandits 4, that checks out. 1 bear, 1 boar, 2 bosses. That would have been Thornrid and the Verovin. We've got 1 deer, 29 kills, 2 dragons, the main thing, and the whelp. Earth Elemental 1, Fire Elemental 1, Goblin 1, Mercenary 1, Moose 1, Orcs 4, Shadow Elemental 1, Spider 1, Veroin 1, Water Elemental 1, and Wolf 1. Everything seems to be working just fine. Okay, as far as I can tell, all that's working dandy. Now, I think I need to just have not a clear default, which is all these set to 0. And so we set this back. Update, set. To default. And then we no longer need these is valids because it'll always be there. It just might be 0. All right, well, that's good. And now if we log in, we check our thing. It's going to update. Now it's updated. I'm pulling all the data as the client. 0 golems. Let's that. Oh, did I not create that in the... Okay, it's there. Golems is there. Did I not update this this thing? Okay, I didn't update this. And now what? Yeah, I'm gonna just go over here, delete all these, and then just get a golem. Spawn golem. Make sure this updates. Maybe I didn't have it in the enemy master. Golem. Okay. This is why we test all that mumbo jumbo. Better to find it now. Alright, T. There we go. Golem's good. Alright, I'm going to take a break. I'm going to go make some food, and maybe I'll be back later. We'll see. I'll play by ear. Thank you for watching as I continue to make my registry of chronicles.